All right, hey guys. So, armed with the confidence of last weekend's success with the croissants, I've decided it's time for the next challenge, which is Kouign Amanns. These gorgeous beauties, these are actually queenettes. They're like mini muffin-sized Kouign Amanns. And a Kouign Amann is basically like a croissant, but with sugar. So it's even better. I was only introduced to these a couple years ago, and they're fantastic. So we have a similar timeline. Actually, it's a shorter timeline, thank God. It's not really easier than croissants, I would say. I mean, it's the same lamination techniques, but there's a little bit less precision, for example, in the shaping. Here, you literally just like fold them together, put them in muffin tins, and let them proof. And I only have one light colored muffin tin. It's in the other room. The other is dark. And it's specifically called out that dark muffin tins can make the sugar burn. And so we're gonna be doing 2 rounds in this one light muffin tin. I have mapped out our plan. So our first batch is going to be baked around 8:30 tonight, and the next one around 7:30 tomorrow morning. So it's a little after 2 o'clock, so it's time to make the dough. And then it's kind of the same process, let the dough proof. I already have made my butter block. Then we're gonna fold it in, we're gonna roll it out. Very similar. So let's go. Okay guys, we're gonna start by making our butter block. So this needs to be a 7 by 7 inch square. Cut the butter into pieces. The first time I just banged a whole like frozen stick of butter, which was insanity. This was much easier. So do that, and you can do that days in advance. Now the dough for this is very similar to the détente that we made for the croissants. I really think you probably could use the same dough, but because these are slightly different recipes, the dough is slightly different. It's an enriched yeast dough, so it should come together pretty quickly and be very soft and supple. After letting your dough rise, you're going to want to enclose the butter block. So you'll roll the dough out into an 8 by 8 inch square, because you'll remember the butter block is 7 by 7. You're going to place your butter block in the middle on a diagonal like I'm doing here, and then just make sure you have enough dough to wrap each corner over and meet in the center. You can always roll it out more. You also want to make sure that there's not too much excess flour on the dough, because that will prevent it from sticking together and allowing you to really pinch the dough together and have it stick. Then you immediately move into your first 2 turns. Okay, so these are letter turns. You're going to roll it out, fold it in thirds, turn it, do the same thing again. And then you have to let it rest. And then these are the second 2 letter turns. So we're doing the same type of turns, except for these second 2, you're adding granulated sugar. And this really raises the stakes because the sharp sugar crystals can easily cut through those layers of butter and pastry. To prep your muffin tins, you're going to cover them in butter, add these little slips of paper to help you pull the queenettes out, and then add sugar. All right, hey guys. Okay, we're nearing the end of day 1. We're not there yet, but I have my pan, as I showed you, all set, ready to go. So essentially I need to roll them out, cut them, proof half of them. We're going to proof and bake half of them tonight. So I want to talk a little bit about proofing. I talked briefly about it in my last video about croissants, but I'm going to use the same method. So essentially what I'm going to do here is I'm going to proof them inside the oven using a skillet of like steaming water. You can't see it, the skillet's already there, ready to start getting heated up. My oven has a proof setting. However, I turn it on like during this week and I check the temp, and it hovers between 85 and 90 degrees, which is excellent for breads. But butter actually starts melting at around 82 degrees. So proofing can really happen anywhere between like 70 to 90 degrees. And I need the lower half, not the upper, because I really don't want this butter to melt while they're proofing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a skillet and I'm going to fill it with water and let it get to an active simmer on the stove, and then I'm going to put it in the oven, close the door, and I'm going to time this so that it's going into the oven with the closed door when I start rolling out the Kouign Amanns. So after I've rolled them out, I have them in the muffin tin, I'm then going to take my thermometer. A thermometer is so important for these recipes. I'm going to take my thermometer and I'm going to put it in the oven and just check the temp. If it's more If it's more than 75, more than 78, I won't put them in. If it's at 75, I can put them in. But yeah, if we're like nearing even 80 degrees, I'm gonna let it cool off a little bit and then put them in. And then as they're proofing, like for the croissants, for example, they ended up needing to proof for about 3.5 hours. So I actually did this skillet trick a couple of times. Hopefully for this, I think they're only supposed to proof for another 35 to 45 minutes. So hopefully the one skillet will do the trick, but that is gonna be my approach for proofing. So got a couple more minutes and then we will start that whole process. Then roll your dough out into an 18 by 12 inch square. I had a little bit of trouble with this. It kept springing back, so I did put it in the fridge to rest for 5-minute increments. I think I did that twice. Then you'll need to cut your dough. So I want a 6 by 4 grid. So I'm gonna do 3 cuts in this direction, so I have 4, and then keep cutting until I have all 24 squares. Once you have all your squares, you're gonna dip both sides in more sugar, obviously, and then kind of pinch them up so that they look like this, and just tuck each one of them into your muffin tin. Okay guys, we ended up behind schedule. It is 10 p.m., 10:07. The second batch of Kouign Amanns have been formed. I'm gonna cover them, put them in the fridge, and then bake them in the morning. But the first batch came out and they are so beautiful. You can see we have a gorgeous caramelized bottom, flaky, lovely. I'll get you better pictures in the morning. Oh, but they're fabulous. So everything's going well, just a little behind schedule. All right, hey guys, we are done. It is day 2. I have already baked the Kouign Amanns. They are beautiful. Really nice layers, caramelized bottoms. I did have trouble getting them out of the tin, as I will have mentioned. But I mean, beautiful layers, like gorgeous. But let's talk a little bit about the recipe. The sugar definitely makes lamination more challenging. The crystals start to cut through the layers and that exposes butter. I was definitely a bit more nervous and I really listened to my dough. She was telling me she didn't want to roll out. I said, okay, I'll give you 5 more minutes in the fridge. And I actually did that twice. So this took longer than it was meant to, like when I planned it out. Like from the beginning, we were behind schedule. We ended up being about an hour, at the end of yesterday, an hour later than we thought. Part of that, yeah, was because I was just letting it rest in the fridge. The proofing of these is challenging. With croissants, I feel like there are very clear indicators. These guys didn't actually grow a lot, and I don't see, and now they're all mixed up, so I'm not gonna be able to tell the difference, but I don't see, actually I can tell because the ones I baked last night are stickier. I don't see any difference between the two. So maybe there's a taste, you know, obviously letting the taste develop overnight, yada, yada. But I'm not seeing a big difference in terms of proofing. Like, meaning if I had proofed them wrong the night before, like they don't really puff. You don't get a light puffy, you don't get a jiggle. The layers were already visible to me. So yeah, like, exciting. I made Kouign Amann. It's feeling a little less victorious than croissants, but that is to be expected. This was an ideal, perfect outcome. I'm perfect, but they're just less like, yeah, less of a centerpiece than croissants were. But I'm glad I made them. Gotta check this off. And yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you tried them, what you think of mine. If you have any tips for getting them out of the tin, that would be great. All right. Bye.